We now move on to our next session, which is part of the sports governance segment. In our quest to achieve better governance of sport in India and deliberating on the manner of its implementation, we often tend to forget the group that is most affected by the governance of sport, the athletes. However, in recent times, increasingly we see that athletes, or at least retired athletes, are making an effort to give their opinion on matters of governance, and that their recommendations are gradually being valued and even sought by administrators and policymakers. The next session is all about the athlete's perspective on sports governance. Let's watch a video first.
They say the perfect moment when every little detail comes together and every fibre of the body moves in sync. That moment comes once in a lifetime. This man begs to differ. Because in his line of work, it has to be every single shot. To slow down the heart just enough so it skips a beat. To flex the shoulders to handle the expectations of a billion people. The eye still. The world silenced. Because the difference between gold and everything else is less than 1 millimeter, and getting the gold is in the details. Every little detail that comes together. To be perfect.
Well, that video is a better introduction to India's only individual gold medalist, Olympic gold medalist, than anything I could have said. Actually, that video is also the perfect introduction for the topic of the session. Sports governance is all about perfecting each flaw in the system until the end goal is achieved. Abhinav's perspective on sports governance is of significance as he's someone who's been in the thick of things, so to speak, by being part of the committee appointed by the Sports Ministry to draft the National Code of Good Governance in Sport. He is also the chairman of the Athletes Committee in the International Shooting Sport Federation and also a member of the recently constituted Olympic Task Force. This session will be a moderated Q&A, and Abhinav will be in conversation with Deepthi Gopaya, the Executive Director of the Go Sports Foundation. I'd like to welcome on stage Abhinav and Deepthi. There will be no audience questions at the end of the session.
Thank you, Shubham. Abhinav, thank you so much. Why are you not wearing your jersey, Indian jersey?
Well, I'm a retired athlete now, and I gave all mine away, and I'm trying to become a hotshot sports lawyer. It pays better. So.
Well, I have worn my 17 years back Karnataka jersey, so I'm still very proud of it. So we're going to be discussing a very interesting topic today about governance, and we've been hearing a lot about it over the last few years, and Abhinav's been leading the front on this. Before I get into that, I'd like to read a small paragraph from his autobiography, and it goes something like this. Champions have to be built, talent found, skills sandpapered, techniques tuned, minds strengthened. It requires a detailed and relentless pursuit of greatness. Think of it like a military operation, but it doesn't exist in India. If producing champions was a degree, most officials would fail. It's why so much of what is achieved is in spite of officials. It's a pity. So much of this nation has changed around me, so many strides taken, but attitudes worn by sporting officials still arrive from another century. This chapter is from a chapter called Mr. Indian Official Thanks for Nothing. Tell us a bit of what motivated this and what does governance.
I was just trying to sell a few copies of my book. No, I think it was just anecdotal, and I think I was in sport for 20 odd years, and I faced interesting times in my career and many funny incidents as well. When I won the Olympic Games in Beijing, I was given a tracksuit which was XXL, so I went onto the podium in shorts. I was given a pair of shoes which were both for my left feet ones. So I mean, these are little things that I faced, and you're talking about governance. I don't really know what to talk about it because I didn't experience much of it in my career. But
do you feel that's changing today? I mean,
yeah, it is. I think times are moving, but we're slow. I'd like things to move much faster, but I see that there is a will to change, and there is a certain amount of progress being made. But I think some federations are doing a good job. Some are slow to embrace change, but change is inevitable, and they will have to sooner or later. But the quicker it happens, I think it's better for the entire ecosystem of sport in India. And I hope that they do change and professionalize things, professionalize the day-to-day running of sport. I think that is the missing link. The biggest missing link in India is the day-to-day running. I think on paper we may have many good ideas, we have many good schemes even in the government of India, but it all boils down to the execution of all what we have on paper, and it needs to be done with a lot of intensity and a lot of passion and a lot of efficiency every single day. And the Olympics come once in 4 years, but for an athlete, it's every single day. And the athletes need to be backed up. They need to be given all what they need to. They need a system which is running like a machine, which helps them just focus, which makes sure that they just focus on their training and competing, and that's when results will start to perhaps become better.
So in your journey, while you said the governance was not there too much, but in today's athlete's journey, there is some amount of systems and structures, and you are also the chairman of the ISSF Athletes Committee. So what do you feel is the big difference in terms of what happens internationally and from a governance structure in India?
Well, I think one thing is common, that there is politics everywhere. I think if you say that there is just politics in Indian sport, that's not right. I think there's politics everywhere in the world. But what perhaps the better federations or the better run sports bodies do is that they disassociate the politics and the day-to-day running of sport. And I think the performance side of it is taken care of by experts and by people who are there on a mission, and they're doing this. They're accountable because they're paid professionals, and they know they have to be accountable. They have to get results. They have to win gold medals. They have to get a certain amount of results, or they lose their job. So there's an accountability factor which is there, and the performance aspect of sport is just outsourced to experts. It's outsourced to people who know what it takes to do that. The problem here is that in India we just control freaks. We're there. We just want to control everything, from even buying the air tickets to the athletes to organizing transport. It has to get the go ahead from the top administrators, but you can't micromanage. We can't micromanage things like that. When an administrator comes into play, he has to look at the bigger picture, and he has to have a proper team in place, and a proper team in various verticals. There may be a vertical of the performance aspect of it. There has to be a vertical of grassroots development. There has to be a vertical of marketing. All these areas have to be given to experts in that field.
So if I were to say on a scale of 1 to 10, what would you rate India at today, currently? Not from your time, but currently where we stand in terms of governance. Because we've also seen certain schemes come about. We've seen elite athletes start getting support from the government. These systems are slowly but surely coming into play. So, on a scale of 1 to 10, if I can ask you to rate.
Well, I mean, if you try and see the overall, we have 27 Olympic sports in my concern, or maybe more, I don't know how many for Tokyo. So my concern is only Olympic sport. And if you look at all those Olympic federations, I mean, there are some good ones and some lousy ones, but I'd give it a 3 or 4. So it gives us a lot of room, scope for improvement. So that's a positive.
Yes, that's a positive. What some of you might not know is when the CSR policy got drafted in 2013, there was only a category called sport under the Schedule 7. And Abhinav actually wrote a letter to the Minister of Corporate Affairs, Sachin Pilot, and asked him to include the Olympic and Paralympic sport category into the CSR mandate. How do you feel that there's been an impact on that, and what is the importance of that?
I think it's very, very important. I think the word Olympic is important to have it in there because it would perhaps motivate corporates to come forward and support Olympic sport in particular. I don't know what the impact has been. I think you will be better suited as who runs the foundation to be able to say.
I think for us it's been fabulous because we used to struggle on fundraising, but thank you so much for getting that included because it's definitely changed the life of organizations like us. Because larger corporates have started putting in CSR as a mandate in their aspects of charities to support, and it's wonderful that sport is getting looked at. Before it would be
There was a recent number, and
Yeah,
very less now.
9,000 crores of CSR in the market, 57 crores come to sport. So we have a long way, and it's a positive again. So a lot of room to look at. What, according to you, is, I'm moving from governance to integrity, because while we talk about what the government and structure needs to be, what, according to you, is sports integrity?
I think that's the side where I think athletes also need to be accountable. I think sport has to be, performed with the right values, and sometimes that's not the case. We have issues with age fraud, we have issues with doping, match fixing. So all those areas need to be looked at very carefully, and the administrators need to be held accountable, but of course also the athletes have to be held accountable. So it's about accountability.
We have a room full of lawyers here. So, what is your message for the lawyers here in terms of when you're dealing in sport and doing sporting related contracts?
Well, in an ideal world, you should be jobless. Apart from getting into contracts here and there. But I'm quite sure the next 20 years you'll be well off. So far good.
And there are a lot of people, common people, the general public, who feel that they feel very strongly about sport, but they don't know how to get involved. So, do you have any tips or suggestions of how can a commoner actually get involved in sports governance?
I don't know about how they can get involved in governance, but I just like to say that you should follow sport. I think once the Olympics come once in 4 years, and there's a lot of attention and interest developed among normal people for our athletes. But that unfortunately does not sustain through the whole Olympic cycle. So I just like to tell people to go and watch sport. I mean, if there's a national championship happening, go and watch them. How many of you watched Deepa Karmakar or even heard of her before Rio? So if there's a local competition happening, just go and watch, and that will inspire and inspire athletes, and it will also inculcate the feeling of sportsmanship in your own family and your own self. And I think sport has so many good learnings, and I think just going and watching, being part of the sporting activities, playing sport as well, just for your own self is something which is a positive thing, and it will lead to an overall change you have to start to really actively build a sports culture in India. And that is something which is not quite there, and each one of us has a responsibility and can easily contribute towards that. Just going and watching a state championship or a district championship. I mean, I competed for 22 years to empty stands in India, so it was okay. I mean, I was scared of people anyways, but
There's also a lot of confusion between talent policy and sports governance. What, according to you, is the difference between the two? Because there is a target Olympic podium scheme that is there on one side, and there's also a sports score. So it would be interesting to, compare the two and tell us the difference between the two.
I think again it comes down to the governance side of it, on how things are structured in sports federations, and then there's a performance side of it, and I think they're two completely different verticals, and they have to be looked at independently. I think the performance side of it is a very specialized area, which is a really tough job, because we're dealing with athletes, we're dealing with performance. Performance in sport can never be broken down into black and white. There will always be a gray area in there, but yet you have to work towards achieving results and setting systems in place which would enhance athletes' chances of getting there. So it's a very, very specialized field. It requires expertise, it requires knowledge, it requires resources, and it requires a tremendous amount of commitment from everybody in the team to back the athletes. It's like a spine, and if one vertebra is a little bit out of sync, then there's nerve pain all around. So everything needs to be in order in terms of the performance side of it. From the governance side of it, of course, we need to, especially in our country, we need to have protocols in place, or a code or a bill or whatever you want to call it, which would perhaps ensure that federations, of course, will continue to enjoy autonomy and things like that. But I mean, autonomy is a word which is literally used in today's times. I mean, it's a favorite word of the Olympic Charter of autonomy. But times are changing. And accountability is something which is much more important than autonomy. I think accountability, transparency. If you read Agenda 2020, the holy Bible of the IOC at the moment, it's going towards those in that direction. And I'm quite sure that things in the next years will change. Not just will change in the world of sport and in all world federations as well. And they will be mandated at some point or the other to become more transparent, to become more accountable, and to have certain standards of good governance in place.
Okay. Thank you, Abhinav. I'd like to just end with another paragraph from your autobiography again. Our lives as athletes, I told the IOC, are unusual because they are short, maybe 10 years, sometimes 15. When athletic bosses in India are inept or slothful, they have a massive impact on our aspirations. They are effectively shortening our lifespans and they're amputating our dreams. And sport is nothing without dreamers. I spoke about things that people have said before, and we have to keep saying till someone listens. Am I hopeful something will happen? Yes. Only because I'm an athlete and I'm conditioned to hope. Thank you so much, Abhinav.
Do you mind doing some audience questions?
Do we have any questions from the audience? Okay. Can we get a mic?
Can you give me your take on what the Supreme Court was doing with regard to sports regulation?
That was it.
Because I'm asking you,
Yeah,
this
actually.
of course, he's also.
He's doing also the Supreme Court is more involved on the cricket side of it, right?
Yeah.
So I filed a petition to extend.
Yeah, I am not into cricket, talk about Olympic sport. What is Olympic sport?
Yes, Olympic sport.
No, but he's fighting for the Olympic sport. Is
You
what
are
he
fighting
said.
for Olympic. How are you fighting for Olympic sport?
Asking for the extension of Lodha for every 3 years,
Okay.
something like that.
Yeah, I think having studied the Lodha thing a little bit, because I was in the committee for drafting this bill, I think there are a lot of good points, but I think with the Olympic thing, you have to consider the Olympic Charter as well. And the Olympic Charter is sacrosanct to if you want to be in the Olympic cycle, you have to follow it. So there is a little bit of give and take. I think that you have to find a mid path to be able to you can't. I don't really think it would be possible to copy everything in toto from the lower recommendations. They make a lot of interesting points, but I think you have to take into consideration the Olympic chart.
You think the sports code is enough?
Yeah, I think
It has no legal backing, therefore I ask.
I'm not a lawyer. My
No, I-
wanting to become one. So I don't know. I don't know the legal side. There are better people.
Yes, right. Tip the
Hi, I had a simple question with regards to administration. Now, in India, often it's in a lot of cases people think that ex-players should be appointed to become administrators. However, there is a contrarian view which says that ex-players don't always make good sports administrators. Now, I feel that there's somewhere there a balance to be struck. So, do you have any ideas on to how a balance between administrators and, of course, ex-players who have the experience in the field can be struck?
It's a job which requires experience, it requires a certain amount of expertise. End of the day, you have to find the right person for the right job, and I think that is the bottom line.
Yeah,
I think-
we were speaking.
I think that sometimes you don't even need the person. You don't even need a person with background in sport. A person with extremely good managerial skills could come in, learn about the sport, and do a fantastic job. So I think you require the right person for the right job, a person who's held accountable, a person who's passionate about sport, and who does things efficiently on a day-to-day basis.
Thank you.
Yeah, and you were also talking about introducing this part of our athlete education program that we run at Go Sports, which we've now become the official knowledge partners to BCCI of life skills, and also talk about sports administration, because these are former athletes who can actually get involved in sports administration, but they've not been thought about what are the minor aspects that need to be involved. So we definitely look into introducing that as well. Yes.
Just wanted to know what are the initiatives that we're taking to identify talents at a very young age and nurturing that, because from what we know, it's mostly people who get picked up at a junior level, and in junior level it's pretty late because in Olympic sport it's an added advantage if you start from a very young age. Do we have any initiative like that? We have the Olympic Quest, but I believe that also comes only after a certain level.
Yeah, I think presently we're not doing much. It is definitely an extremely important area which we need to look into. I think the Olympic Task Force has been working on that to try and figure out a way how to work with grassroots talent, how to pick talent, and how to have a good program at that young age. I think presently it's foundations who are coming into the picture, but overall it's quite a difficult thing. Sport is also quite difficult of how things operate in India, which is give support when you reach the top of the peak. Then there's a lot of support, but how to get to the peak is the important part. Is the real challenge. That's where the work needs to be done.
Abhinav, by when do you think is the next Olympic champion going to be in India? After you?
No, I'm not into real speculation. I have no idea. I hope 2020.
2020.
I hope we all living in hope.
Abhinav, you spoke about governance and sports. Just shifting focus to para athletes and bringing in the recent development of an athlete who is in need of financial support. How do you think the governance in para athletics has developed over the years, and what are your thoughts on the recent development?
Well, frankly, honestly, I have not studied every federation that exists, but I think athlete management is an area which is extremely important. I think for every federation, and that's a very neglected area, and I'm quite certain that it perhaps been a neglected area in the PCI as well. And I think that is something which needs to develop. I think it needs to develop across all federations, and I think athletes have to be the central, have to be at the heart of every decision making within the federation. Have to be the entire focus has to be athlete driven and athlete centered. change of attitude, and when there is when that starts to happen, if everything is revolving around the athletes, then things change.
Talking about the para sports, that's an area which we also identified huge gaps because the federation was doing whatever is possible at their level, but we found that there were multiple gaps that we could work with para athletes. So we have a specific program called the Para Champions program, and we work with 38 athletes, para athletes. Out of them, 11 of them went to the Paralympics last year, and 3 came back with the medal out of the program. And in this recent case, we've also decided to support this specific athlete that you're talking about, and she's now brought into the Go Sports Foundation.
Yeah, hi. Recently, I mean, there is Go Sport Foundation. There are other organizations who are supporting athletes, but with regards to Olympic task force or the sports ministry, I think there is a line that's drawn where the sports ministry says, "This is it. We are going to take forward from here." Do you think there's a breakthrough going forward in that? Anyone, Oshi?
Definitely, I think so. I can talk from our perspective at the foundation. We're going to finish 10 years next year, and when we started off, there was not too much structure or support from the other side. But what we realized in the last 3-4 years is that the ministry has put in certain systems, have put in certain structures, and they are taking care of the top most elite athletes. But the gap we find is really when they're at a national level up to the India international level. That's where the gap, and that's where we're trying to bridge. So yes, I think they are moving forward, and it's a matter of time that there'll be a proper systematic structure. We're positive about that.
Thank you.
Hello. So recently, the Asian Athletic Championship had concluded, and India had scripted history by leading on the medal tally, right? But a lot of people were unaware that such a competition was going on, and they had no clue, because a lot of people whom I know, when if we start debating about it, they had no idea something had concluded of this sort. Do you think it's because the promotional activities conducted by such organizations are very less, or it's not being taken up by leading channels like Star Sports, etc.? Do you think it's because of that? Because a lot of people are unaware of it. Is it because, it's not being advertised enough, or it's not being told to people or debated in news channels enough?
Yeah, I think it's probably a combination of both factors. I think it's also I think the federations have to be very proactive in today's times with giving out information and creating that buzz around their tournaments, getting the media interested towards their events, to get them there to cover their events. No disrespect to the media, but sometimes they can be a little bit lazy, so you need to feed them with the right information at the right time sometimes. I think it's a combination of both, and I think it's also, the more media coverage we can get for Olympic sport, the better it is. And I think that is changing, it is evolving, it is developing, but it's still work in progress.
Thank you.
Hello, sir. Continuing on what was just asked, so in a recent interview conducted with Mr. Sunil Chetri, he commented on how the media really doesn't care until you become a top star. And by that time, he basically doesn't need that much exposure. While drawing parallels with the sporting systems of other countries, where young players are given exposure from a very young age, which not only allows them to develop better, but also gives people a chance to invest in these players. Now, that is something I find is very lacking in India, except for maybe cricket, where people talk about these young and upcoming cricketers, but no one talks about young and upcoming Olympic athletes normally. So, do you think that your association can play a more proactive role in maybe getting the media involved, or is it like the media doesn't care about these other sports aside from cricket?
But I think you make a very good point. The media is just sitting one row ahead of you. So I would encourage you to go and chat with them immediately and push them to us.
Last question. Yeah.
Yeah. I had a particular questions with regards to what you just said before. So you stated the fact that okay, we have not been too we don't have comprehensive programs with regard to youth development. But what I want to focus upon, like I want to comment upon and ask your opinion about is, what about the post-retirement stage of a player, the post-retirement rehabilitation program? Because like drawing parallels with other sports such as all they're doing or they getting bankrupt because of like loss of opportunities. And what about the post-rehabilitation plan for players?
Well, I think I'll give you an example. I think I'll give you the example of the United States. The United States runs their elite athlete program has an aspect of developing life skills for all athletes. So, a lot of athletes get involved in sport, but a very few number which actually succeed and make it. So they have a program which equips them with life skills which they can use after their playing careers, which gives them an opportunity to work in different areas and work in different fields. I mean, it's very hard to say just we're an athlete, we give you an X amount of money. So I think the better way to approach this is to make sure that athletes are developed, they have an all-round development and are trained in certain areas which they can utilize after their playing careers. I think would be very useful to bring athletes, former athletes back into sport and use their experience for the further development of sport. So I think these are areas, coaching for example, is a big thing. I think we will only develop as an Olympic nation when our coaches are up to par with the best in the world, and we cannot rely on just getting people from the outside. We have to empower our own people because we need those numbers we need great coaches in all across the country to help develop sport, and that can only happen when we empower our own people. And we'll have to empower our own people, and we need to pay them well. Our current policies do not allow are limiting Indian coaches. We don't pay them enough. I think they have a limitation on how much they can earn per month or whatever, something like that. So we need to empower our own people, and we need to empower our athletes to find a way to have a good path, a good outlet post their sporting career.
And also, I just want to add to that is today athlete careers are much shorter. If you look at other sports like cricket, and you have the likes of Ram Dravid or Sachin Tendulkar, where it's spanned over 15-20 years. But today that's not the case. So it's become that much more important that an athlete actually takes care of what they're going to do post their career. So, programs are extremely essential where they learn certain life skills, get trained. Even if they want to get hired, they need to be ready to take up certain positions in jobs. So I think it's something that even the ministry is looking at. We have to just wait and see how it gets rolled out. But in our own small way, we started the education program, keeping in mind the specific thing and talking to them about all these aspects so that they can have a post-career position at any organization. Okay, sorry, there's one person who's...
Hello, good morning. So, sir, I have a specific question regarding the Shooting Federation of India. And if we take up the recent example, like India finished second in the medal tally in the Junior World Championship, which recently concluded in Germany. But we haven't heard of those shooters for a while. Like last year as well, India finished second in the medal tally, that too of Czech. But still in the second edition of in the present edition as well, India finished second. But there hasn't been ushering of funds from the National Shooting Federation, or there hasn't been any media coverage of the shooters as well. So if we take out the other sports like cricket, there is a lot of media coverage. If we see the recent example of badminton and hockey also coming up, but we haven't heard of these shooters. Like Scanner was one of the most well-to-do player when he played on the youth circuit. He won the gold medal in the junior championship. But when we take up the case of shooter, many of the shooters fall in the.
Sorry, what is your question?
So what I am asking is if we specifically talking about the shooting federation of India, they haven't been they hasn't been supporting enough the shooters when they go for the international tournament. There have been cases of their equipment being held at the air.
Sorry, I have to ask you what is
I just like to say that
there hasn't been a good enough support.
I think the shooting federation has done a good job with youth development. They allocate 50% of the budget that they receive the government of India to the junior program, and that is the reason why the junior athletes have been doing well. What perhaps they haven't been doing well is profiling them enough so that everybody hears about them, everybody hears about their achievements more. I think that is what they can do more proactively, and I think that will help the athletes, but that will also help the sport in general, because once you become athlete-centric and you profile your athlete, that will also open avenues for further sponsorship and things like that. So I think the work what they perhaps not succeeded well enough is profiling of athletes.
Yeah. So I think this is an audience of lots of aspirants, of people wanting to get involved with sport administration, making sort of India a much stronger sporting nation. If you were to pick certain challenges that are worth this room in some sense taking forward, specific things and ways in which lawyers can get involved. I know you don't ideally want them to be, but I think there is a long path ahead, and I think to move India from like a 3 or 4.
Lawyers are sports federation's best friends. I mean, I go to a lot of conferences around the world. Everywhere there's 5 lawyers in every meeting. Where's the lawyer? Where's the lawyer?
So not here.
One question asked every morning.
And also just the role of lawyers as administrators. I think much more internationally prevalent of people actively playing roles in administration. So in your experience in terms of the level of professionalism, and I know you were also a member of the Athletes Commission, the chairman in fact, what is the sort of the involvement of documentation, thought, strategy in sports administration, and really what are the gaps that professionals, don't think of them as legal professionals, but professionals who have these skills of thought, structure, institutionalizing processes, what are the types of roles available in taking on the next challenges?
It is certainly very, very prevalent. I think everything is moving towards transparency. I'll give you an example of my own experiences within the shooting federation. You know, we've been mandated to make changes in the Olympic program, and we want to make the process completely transparent. How do we make that transparent? How do we structure it in a way? How do we reach out to people? How do we set a clear enough process where everybody's involved? So it's very challenging, and that's where people like you can come into play, because you have those skills to structure things well, perhaps to make everybody happy to a certain degree. So I think structuring things within the sports organization, I think it's all about structure. Structure is the key thing, because we want structure, because we have one good person, but it should not just be dependent on one good person coming in. You have to have the processes and the structures in place, which then keeps working like a machine. And I think to bring in an efficient amount of structure into various aspects of a federation, be it athlete management, be it competition management, be it the area of anti-doping, we need to bring out that information, to have a clear process in place for everything, and that's where the skills of lawyers can definitely add a lot of value.
Thank you so much, Abhinav, for the session, and I hope it's been engaging and you all got your answers as well. Thank you.